Hi, my name is Daniel from King Township Public Library. Welcome to April Break at Home. This time we're going to take a look at video transitions and title effects. Now, I've said there are a great many tools and tricks you can work with here on DaVinci Resolve, and most of them you'll never need, but a couple of them might be rather handy to you, and those are the transitions and titles. To begin with, we're going to take a look up here at this little menu list. Of these four things, Media Pool is the one we have selected right now, which means that is what this little box here shows us, our media pool. We're going to flip over to the Effects Library. These are basically pre-made effects that you can drag and drop into your video where you want them. Over here, we have the list of different categories of them, including video transitions, audio transitions, titles, and fancier ones as well. It would be good for you to play around with many of these different tools, see how they work, see what their settings do, discover. Right now, though, we're going to take a quick look at video transitions, as this provides some of the common effects you might see in videos or movies to change from one scene or shot to another. Right now, when we flip from our first intro shot here over to Kirby looking at the 3D printer, we have this blank spot in the middle where the screen's just going to be black. And right now, it goes directly from our shot to nothing. So, these are very helpful for situations not where you want a black space in between for a fraction of a second, but when you're moving from one scene to another, one shot to another. Each of these does something different, and again, the best thing you can do is play around with each, play around with their settings, but I'll show you a few of them now. For instance, the cross dissolve. If we drag that over, we can place it where two clips meet, and it creates this window in between them. And if we take a closer look, you can see that it's labeled cross dissolve, and that there's this diagonal line going up, sort of showing the progression of the cross dissolve as it happens. Looking at it frame by frame, you can see that it starts blending one into the other. If you look at it a bit faster, you can see how it fades there. Now, it can look a little choppy playing around with these effects when you're in the editing area of the video, but when you're done putting together your video and it's ready to be seen, the final product, it will be much smoother after you do your rendering. But we'll get to that later. Right now, we're looking at the cross dissolve. Now, just like you can select a clip, you can select the cross dissolve. This little symbol here shows you that there are factors with the transition that can be edited. And if we click on it, it opens up another section underneath the clip, but you'll see that it's still part of the same track that can show us the details of the cross dissolve. Now, this line can be tweaked. We can move it up or down, and we can change the angle of the fade so that it looks a little bit slower. But because we've brought down this other side, that means that it doesn't finish fading all the way to the new scene before the transition's done. with this line, you can see the transition as it goes from one clip to the other. But you have other choices. It doesn't need to be a straight fade. If we select this curve, for instance, then you can see that it will start fading slowly and then suddenly speed up. To bring us to, it just gives a little bit of a different look to that fading transition. Some of these others are a little less subtle. So if we scroll up and zoom out, we can take a look at another transition here. And this one gets set up directly on one end of the clips, and you'll see the last frame from the first clip gets frozen and then slowly spreads out in the shape of an eye iris. These other ones simply provide other shapes. And by dragging the mouse over here, you can see in the preview window what it might look like. The motion transitions provide something similar, each with its own take on how to move from one clip to the next. You'll see there's a variety of options here. Some are more complicated than others. And you should be careful about using these transitions, as too many in a video can start to look a little cheesy. But a well-placed transition can make a big difference in a video. Now, the fusion transitions are a little more complicated, as the fusion transitions involve some element of, well, special effects in their appearance. But each one will give you something different to play with for the appearance of your videos and their transitions. Now, if we zoom out for a minute, when we get to the end of our video, most people like to let folks know who it was that made the video in the first place. That's usually the first or main place you might think of to use the titles. Now, again, each one is a little different. And the best thing you can do is play around with them to see what you like best. What a title effect is a way to bring text into your video. There are very simple ones, and there are more complicated ones. Just like the video transitions, it's just a matter of click and drag. Now, titles become clips of their own, and you can move them over top of existing video clips, and they will provide a completely see-through background, and the only thing that it will lay over top of the clip underneath it is the words. To change what a title effect says, over here in the inspector window, we have all the different settings you can change, including the words, and you can have more than one line of text. And depending on what the background looks like, you might want to change the color of your text by clicking on the block there. Pick something that you think will stand out. Let's go with a nice dark green for Kirby. And if that's still not standing out too much, you can change what kind of font you're looking at. And you can change the size of the letters. And if you scroll down, there's other elements that you can throw in as well to change it up. Alignment and anchor will help show where the text is going to appear on the page. And with the position X and Y, you can adjust where it is as well. And then there's other effects here that you can play around with. So for instance, if we give an outline to our letters, we can make it a little easier to read with the stroke option here. Now, you can also change the length of time that title is visible by lengthening or shortening it, just like a video clip. But another thing you can do that can be very helpful for transitioning into a title or transitioning into a video clip is the simple fade buttons up at the top here. If you drag it over, you'll see it making a line that shows you how quickly or slowly the fade is happening. So for instance, with two video clips next to each other, we can make one fade out and then we can make the other fade in. So in the end, we get a nice little simple transition. If you place a title where there is no other video clip underneath it, so for instance, the clean and simple title here, I like to use for my Kirby videos, then the text will just appear on a black background for as long as the clip is there. And that's your introduction to transitions and titles. Next, we're going to go through the steps of rendering your video. When you have all your editing done and you're ready to turn it into something to post up on YouTube or email to friends and family, rendering is the last step to turn your project into a playable video file.